What is up, y'all? KRC Pinto here. Welcome to Secret Sauce Season 4. This time around, we're kicking it off big time. We've got LordKnight back on the show to talk about probably like the most LordKnight associated character of all time, Millia Rage. LordKnight, how you doing, man?
I'm chilling, bro. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this one. So we've had you on before for Dragon Ball Fighters, but like this is your character, right? This is like your character through and through. How long have you been playing Millia?
I mean, comparatively not that long, right? Like I'm an Exerd baby, you know? So Exerds are like the SF4 of Guilty Gear. So someone will get mad that I said that, but it's true. Uh, so yeah, I've been playing her since like the beginning of 2015, uh, up until Exerd Rev 2.1, and like, that's right around when Dragon Ball came out. But I still played her for like another year, despite not competing that much.
How are you feeling about Strive Millia so far compared to her Zerd version? Is she still feeling fun?
So I think she's pretty fun. So I mean, I'm kind of biased, but I like all the versions of her besides like really old versions of her. Like to be fair, I haven't played like a ton of Reload, and Slash doesn't look that fun. But like, I really think AC Milia is made very well. I think ACR Milia is pretty fun, but like there's some stuff that I'm like, does she really need this? But like it's that type of game where all the characters have, do we really need this? So it's fine. So Exer is the game that I have the most EXP in, and like she was pretty fun, but I always felt like it's gonna sound pretty funny. Like in this game, I don't feel like she's missing stuff in the same way that I felt when I played Exerd, and I think it's probably because Exerd is based off XX, so you like hard compare like the Exerd version to the previous version. And I used XXAC to help me learn her at like a higher level. Where Strive is like a brand new game, so like even though she literally doesn't have stuff that she used to have, I don't feel the same. Like I don't feel like she's missing stuff because they gave her other stuff.
Right.
If that makes sense. She's a pretty fun character, and the main way that I built a lot of my matchup strategies in Exerd still apply to this game, so I feel pretty comfortable. I think she's pretty fun to play.
Nice. All right, so this time we're going to start out a little differently than last time I had you on. I want to just kick things off. Let's talk about Millia's like overall game plan. What's like the elevator pitch of this character? Like if you had to describe her in like one sentence, what does she do?
Knockdown, mix up, win the game. That's what you're basically aiming to do. Yeah, no, that's literally it. That's the elevator pitch.
That's probably one of the cleaner elevator pitches for a fighting game character ever too. Knockdown, mix up, win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the well-known win condition here is, she gets the knockdown, she does the disc oki, and you have a bad time. That's yeah, I guess it doesn't get much simpler than that, huh? On paper,
No,
at
for real.
least.
Yeah, I always said like this character at like the most macro level, like big picture level, she's actually mad simple. Like really simple. Because you're only trying to do one thing to win the game. The issue is like how you actually go about doing that. Like that's what makes it hard. Like the plan itself is pretty basic, honestly. Like you're just trying to hit them. In this game specifically, you're trying to hit them with sweep, get a sweep, not even hit them with sweep. Get a sweep somehow. So you can set up disc, and then like that's her best offense. She gets safe mix up off it. It's all you can't option select your way out of it really, and then like you just do that until they die. Uh, but just getting there and like dealing with a bunch of stuff that the opponent can do when they're in that situation, dealing with neutral and how people think about the character, like as you dig into each individual problem, you realize like, oh, like there's quite a high skill ceiling for this character, despite her game plan being so simple.
Dude, you're just queuing this interview up perfectly with these lead-ins. I love it. Because that's all the stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. Let's start at the most basic level, though. I got to know, LordKnight, in Guilty Gear Strive, what is your favorite move of Millia's and why?
This one. That's her best move.
Just wiggling back and forth?
So her best move is mobility.
Hmm.
Yeah. For real.
You want to elaborate on that? Let's talk about it. What
Yeah.
what makes her mobility so good in this game? I know she's fast. She's got a lot of movement specials and stuff like that. But what about the walk speed makes it special? Like
It's
how are you getting around with her?
it's not specifically the walk speed so much. I think people overstate. How do I put this? Like, if you're just starting the game, or if you're not like at a high level in Guilty Gear, just no other way to put it. Like, you're gonna put a lot of stake into just like people's straight up attacks and how easy it is to get people with attacks, right? This is like the first problem people had with Millia, that they just don't understand this thing about Millia. Where like they're like, oh, this is good because it's plus and he moves forward, and if I hit you, I get a combo. If you block him plus, I get to do my pressure. Or this is good because it was disjointed, it's huge, it covers all this space. And like those things are true, but like for Millia, her actual attacks, like the reason why her various attacks are good are not like that. It's not so much like this move is disjoint or that move is like this. So like the thing that enables everything is her mobility. She has the second fastest run in the game, and she has an unreactable, not unreactable, but basically like a backdash that's instant. It's 16 frame total duration, and it travels pretty far. So by the time your opponent sees your backdash, you can already do something else. So this like wait and see type of thing lets her be like really explosive, because like once you establish that you can maneuver around the screen really well, when she's standing like this, if your opponent tries to pull up on you and you backstep, then they're vulnerable. If your opponent tries to pull up on you and you jumped, then you probably get a punish. And if they're unsure what to do, she can explode at you like with speed and just like hit you from pretty far with like 2K. So this creates a pretty interesting problem for the opponent of like, do they try to preemptively deal control space by whiffing moves? Do they try to like pull up on your movement and just like take a big bet on like you backdashing or something? It can make it pretty hard for characters to actually use their quote unquote good moves if your mobility is good. And when I say mobility, I mean like just straight up movement, not even with like using specific attacks or special moves.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it that way. When I think about like what makes her mobility special, I usually think of the special slide and the dive, the fast fall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, backdash. I guess yeah. I mean, you got me this way a few times. Like waited while we were playing, you waited for me to do something, and then like dash under close slash. Like that happened how many times? Like 5,000, something like that. So yeah, I can definitely see that. Okay, interesting. I think you're the first person in an interview who's ever not chosen an actual move for the favorite move. I can appreciate that. Let's talk about Millia's neutral game plan. So movement, obviously a big piece of it. We just went over that, but let's go a little more in depth. What are you doing when you're trying to get your offense started, get in and get the hit?
So I also don't necessarily think of like how should I get in with the character. It might sound kind of weird, but basically, so unlike Dragon Ball, so Dragon Ball has like the attribute system, right? So like 2H beats head moves, and then like maybe you have a move that beats foot, right? That like, goes over lows and stuff like that.
Right.
But this game is all hurtbox interactions. So what I mean is like this move has a specific hitbox and vulnerable hurtbox. Like the way they made the moves in this game, makes it so that for the most part, every move has like a strong point, like a strong place to use it, and like a counter if you think it's going to come. And even like the disjointed moves, generally the disjointed moves, their main weakness is that they just have really long total duration. Like if it misses, then you're vulnerable for a long time. So like in the case of like this type of move, so Soul players they do this a lot, right? So this is two things where like one, this is a move that you can see happen. This the total duration is 24 frames, so you can clearly see this happen, and like it's not over. And like below his knees, he's pretty vulnerable actually. So what you can do is you can tag this with 2K, which leads into this, which is her winning spot, winning condition. So I try, instead of being like, how am I going to get in? I try to build these situations out, because this is gonna determine how I move around the screen. What pokes do I end up picking? Because this game, like, because of the character, because like the characters that people try to use, and also I think maybe it's just a new thing in modern games where people just want to pick like whatever is easy, what they think is broken. So a lot of people are playing characters that they feel like they can kind of like flail with and win. I use flail lightly, disrespectfully, like they want to like press shit because they just think the shit is good, right? So those people are thinking about that way because they want to get in and do what their character does. But from my perspective, is like uh, the moves in this game have spots you should use them and spots where you shouldn't, and those are built based off the hitbox and hurtbox interactions of the game.
So you're neutral with her. It sounds like it ends up being a little more on the reactive side than the proactive side. Is that kind of a
Mostly, but also you have to build neutral in depth by like each character you're playing against too. So like the way you play against Soul, for example, like if you wanted me to make it simple, for example, against Soul, a really good thing to do against him is dash to K2D because it deals with a lot of his stuff. It beats this. If you're fast enough, it beats this. He has to kind of preempt you with a button like this or this, right? And if you think he's going to do that, then you don't have to run all the way. You could stop and like wait for him and then move, right? So you if you watch me play, you might have seen me do this and then do nothing. It's to actually check to see if my opponent did do something or not. And if they didn't do something, then I might keep going at them. I might go back, whatever. If they did do something, then I was like, I was right, and then I'll go for the hit. But you can't play that way against say Kai because Kai you can't run at Kai. Like he has too many good buttons that are low that go too far that beat this. He has many buttons that beat this, so you can't do that to him. So against him, you have to pick other stuff in order to like get him to play like an interactive ground game with you. A thing that's tough for people at the beginning too with her is that a bunch of characters have like not just this is both the characters and the players combined. So like a bunch of characters have a move that people are like, oh, this is the move, right? Like select this, and then when they whiff the move, they whether or not they understand that they missed the move, they will do another action. And since Millia, like her normals are not the same as other characters. Like they're not like spammable like other characters, for lack of a better word. Like you also need something to deal with that in a particular way. To either like just get a hit so that you can get like a soft knock, like if you have to use Estus to punch it and take your plus frames after the soft knockdown, or if you could pull up with a button when you see them with like you need to build something for that, or else it's gonna seem like your opponent is like a quote unquote impenetrable wall, even though all they're really doing is just whipping the thing that they think is good, basically, in front of you over and over. So it ends up being really specific, like how you end up approaching the individual characters, and like rather than me thinking of it like, oh, how should I get in so I can run my pressure? I think about these interactions and I'm like, all right, so what's the best way for me to deal with this? Because if I can deal with this in a way that leads into a knockdown, that's great. If I can lead, especially like a sweep knockdown, that's really good. If I can maneuver around this and then like I end up getting pressure because of it, cool. You know what I mean?
right? That's interesting because definitely going into this question, I expected an answer that was more about what buttons of hers fill space, but you really went the opposite direction and talked more about like dealing with buttons that fill space. That's a good perspective to have, especially in this game.
Mm.
Cool. Anything else you want to touch on for a neutral?
No, that's the main thing. So, I mean, if you're a Millia player listening to this, like, unfortunately, I just don't have like like easy tips for you. You could do it your own way. You don't have to do it this way. Like, I'm not the only person who plays this character. So you could do it your own way. But this is just how I. This is when I studied who I think is the best Millia player ever, Oshige. I think that's how he looks at the game from just seeing how he makes choices based on other characters, and I applied that to my game, and I found a lot of success with that. So that's just what I do.
All right, let's talk about her pressure game. So, this game, really specifically this game, I feel like block pressure matters a lot. There's, a little bit of limits on defense after your burst is spent. You've got YRC, and other than that, you basically got jump out or challenge. So what do you do with Millia when you get someone in a blocking situation to like keep them there, make them trip up? How are you making them sweat?
She's got a few pretty nice things, especially like post patch. So one, she has 5k stagger. That's automatically mad good because it's delay cancelable into itself. Jump cancel goes into this. Has a built-in frame trap. With in 6H. So she has a bunch of stuff she could do off this. To get people to not just like not just thinking about like hitting them straight up too, so not just trying to like get them to respect, but also you can use this to help see what your opponent likes to do on defense, because you by staggering it, I think it's attack level 1, so you can confirm this pretty easily, this delay stagger pretty easily. If I set him to random, like I've done this, like I've gotten this like super late and I still get it. Yeah, like that. So you can, that one's kind of for as long as you can get a second one in there, you can always confirm this. And you can also tell, like, let's say you can use this move besides IBFD, which is just kind of like rare. The other thing that's good about this is you could tell when someone's using faultless defense, which lets you run up again more freely. So that's pretty nice. Another important button, but this is an important button for everybody, is close slash. So close slash has a few things that's really important about it. One is that it gives you the airtight bad move, because this move is attack level 1, so it's 11 frame, should be 11 frame block stun. So your bad move then is gonna be like a 4 frame gap or something. I think fastest bad move is 15 or 16. I always forget the exact number, but close slash attack level 3. So if you do the bad move right, it should be airtight. So like your opponent can't mash, can't throw you. I've seen like quote like cursed clips, people call it, of like people throwing bad moon after 5k. But honestly, I just from Exert even, I just never do 5k bad moon because you just don't have enough block stun to work with compared to close slash. So you get that. It's a multi-hitting move also, which is really uncommon in this game. So like it lets you really confirm the situation a lot. It's -2. It's jump cancelable. It goes into a bunch of stuff. She has a bunch of frame traps. So it's like this is 1 frame gap. But you can of course delay it a little bit for your needs. This is I want to say, I think that's 28, right? So it's like a 12 frame gap, but like if they're specifically mashing lows, like a 2K or something, you will always beat it if you use it here, as opposed to like here where you might get hit if they're mashing, because you just don't have as much block stun to work with as here. So I get my best success with 6k by far off close slash. You also get a low. And there's delay cancel too, so like you could vary your timing. And now because of the Lush Shaker buff, if they block this, you get an airtight block string into a -5 move, which is super privileged. For reference, I think Chips 236S. I don't think people complain about it here. You know the chip punch that like little Rekka he has. I don't think
Right.
people complain. I don't think people complain about it here so much, but I do remember seeing some players, a couple high level players and like some JP players be like, "Man, this is mad cheap that he could just like do some stuff to you, and then he just ends with this button, and then he's just safe, and there's nothing he can do." So now Millia has that too, which is nice. It's only -5, so you can do a bunch of stuff after it as well. Those are probably the most important ones that you got. 2K is mainly important in that you get to go into 2D, and like she has a couple of she has a like this frame trap, but I think the 2K attack level is pretty low. So you have to, and this is something I'm trying to do more often. You have to like have some awareness and not always fish for this, and do like either this or like 6H, or like go back to 5K. And she doesn't have a 2K 5K Gatling. She has a similar like 2K 6K, 2K 6H, and then like sweep, which would be your main, or you could do nothing.
The amount of options off of her kick buttons is kind of crazy. I feel like there's not a lot of characters that have that kind of like layers to work with off of just a 5k. Like being able to cancel into what 6h, 6k, 2k, 2d, and then another 5k. Is that all the normals, right?
Yeah, and it's jump cancelable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's that's scary as shit.
Mhm.
So Lust Shaker got touched up in the last patch, so now it's true off of 5H, right? You already said that, right?
Yeah, 5H and the second hit of 6H.
Um, does Lust Shaker, you can repeatedly push it. Is that worth doing at any point? Right? You can extend how long it goes, correct?
Yeah. So it's by mashing, so like the each level there's 3 levels of it, and each level the move gets bigger. So like where this will probably whiff on level 1, the level 2 one will reach from here, and here the level 2 one will whiff, but oh, the level 3 don't whiff. There you go. So it hits from pretty far. But for each level it goes up, it gets an additional 2 frames of disadvantage.
Hmm.
So the main uses you got for this is like one, it destroys FD. Like if your opponent is using faultless defense, their meter is just gone.
Oh my
That just
gosh.
50 meter, yeah,
That's
right. So
crazy.
it's a pretty good end game. It doesn't actually do a lot of chip. I thought it would be like chip, but it doesn't actually do that much chip. He's not faultlessing, right? So it should. So it actually does not do that much chip, but it absolutely destroys your tension, destroys the enemy tension. Also because of the hitbox, hurtbox, like it's not disjointed, but like it's close to basically like the hitbox and hurtbox are like pretty much overlapping. So the hurtbox is like just outside the hitbox. So that's pretty good for this game to have like your hurtbox be just outside of your hitbox. Um, so you can like kind of just stick it out. Like let's say like I hit a 5H from here, I could still go for that, and like if the last hit does hit, you get a knockdown. So there's that. You might hit delay jump timings as well. But for the most part in this version now, like because you got this, in the old version this was like a 9 frame gap. So like if you were like out here, like jabs could whiff if they didn't master right away. If they're like looking for other options, because most people look for S disc and roll. So if they're looking for those options and you do the Lust Shaker there, you'll get them. You can kind of condition them to like start looking for Lust Shaker, and then you can start using roll again. And like that's pretty tricky because they were the same startup, and they both like have pretty subtle animations. It also would hit fuzzy jumps pretty easily off high attack level moves, which is pretty nice. So the new one is nice because it's the same speed as Exord now, it's 17. So like you get the airtight ones, like I said, so you get like a safe ender without having to take a risk. Before like some buttons, like if you did this in the last version, that's like a huge risk that you're taking. Like a lot of characters, like if people took a little bit more time to lab it, they would just smoke you. Like there's not a lot of stuff you could do about that in the last patch, where now like there's only a 4 frame gap there, so it's way harder for people to interrupt you. But if you want to hit like delay stuff, you have to delay the Lust Shaker on your own, which is a little bit annoying. But honestly, we take those. Like it's fine. It's a small price to pay for having the faster, basically airtight Lust Shaker.
Is -5 a position in this game where you can reset your pressure safely, or is it more of like a just kind of window to backdash away and go back to a neutral?
It creates a guessing game similar to Dragon Ball, where like it's just how confident are you? Like, are you willing to take a gamble to reset your pressure or get a hit, or do you want to just back off? Like, and then the thing too is like she, this does hit from pretty far away. It's not like she's up here, because unlike Dragon Ball, characters do have 5 frame moves, 4 frame moves, and even 3 frame moves, and throws are 2. So it like if it was here, she'd probably be in trouble. But like for the most part, like it hits from here, so like you're at a pretty good range. There's like a whole character space in between you, maybe like a little bit more. So like you have the safe backdash, but then you also can pick like other stuff like jump and things like that. It's up to
Gotcha.
you to be creative, and like again, how willing are you to like choose to do something there that's like aggressive, right?
Okay, let's talk about what everyone's really here for. It's Oki time. So Millia is Oki in Strive. That's like who she is as a character. So you know what? Let's just not even preface it. Just take it away. Show the people what you need to do with this character to make people suffer.
I mean, it's actually pretty simple at a baseline. Like the way they did disc in this game is now you go airborne. So in XX actually, you needed a pretty specific structure to your mix up because if you didn't know how to do it, then people could get out of it pretty easily. To the point where there were some players who were just like, yeah, I can block her, which is obviously bullshit, but like they just had not played against somebody who had like a really tight mix-up structure. And the main thing that was challenging for new players is like your overhead selection was Bad Moon, so you had to do TK Bad Moon because she didn't go airborne off the old disc, right? So this thing was like pretty challenging, and like it took a decent amount of explanation to a new Millia player, like, oh, this is how you mix people up when you knock them down. In this game, honestly, it's a lot simpler. Like the game gives it to you right away. Like it's in her trailer. Like her mix up is like this is cross, and it's I'm not gonna say it's instant, but like it's you can't see this really. And then for same side, you can either just literally land, or you can do a delay air dash on the same side, and it should hit on the same side. That is like the core of her mix up. Like this is like the main thing you're gonna be doing when you hit sweep. In the case that they do block your cross up, you can follow up with either a low to reset, or you can go for a high to also reset, and you can try again to get them with the left right. The left right is where you get like your big damage from. The high low will doesn't do a lot of damage, but it gives you another chance to get people. You could also take advantage of it to check your opponent's tendencies too. That's a little bit more advanced though. Then the other thing though is that if you hit the cross up though, you can't get a hard knockdown unless you have meter. So you have to either spend meter on her new super. So let's say you get this. So this will be a hard knockdown, but if not, then like if I don't have meter for that, or maybe like spending meter on RC, then I can't get a hard knockdown. So you actually have to create like sequences of offense that go between doing disc and like resets that give you another disc. And
And
that's just off sweep. That's just off sweep.
yeah, I was about to say the disc is not airtight on every knockdown that she can get, correct?
Yeah, so like you can't, for example, you can't really do like that is like it might be okay, but in this case, like anytime she gets a disc that's late, so in previous versions, the late one was actually her best mix up because she would meet you with bad or like hair car or something. That's like the basic 50-50. And then if you block that in like Exerd, there's enough blocks done that you can follow up with pressure slash a second mix up depending on your opponent's skill level and like what they did to defend your first mix up. Where in this game you basically only get the meaty, and she's like double digit plus though, like she's usually like plus 20 or something. So you get offense after, but you don't get the disc mix up. Even if you unless like you're like trying to steal a turn, by like taking a risk by doing air dash or something. Where the meaty disc is what I showed you, where it's like, oh, you get the left right, and then if they block the left right, then you get another mix up, which is high low, which is lower return for the most part, unless you have resource. But it's still like good because you get another opportunity to do it.
And then the other knockdown that comes to mind is off of a grab, and that doesn't give you a clean setup either, right? There's like a little gap.
Here you get to do this, so that you just get to establish plus frames. Your opponents can't really do anything about that unless they have a 7 frame reversal, which is not that many characters. So like basically it's like Soul, Leo, Chip are the main ones, and then there's like a couple of supers like that I think have this number. But this lets you just establish like plus frames. And if you have meter, you could do a bunch of tricks. Some people do like for the DP characters, they will OTG into a safe jump. And then there's some people who try to do like this type of thing, but I find that thing like controlling the left right there is really not stable right now. It's something that I want to find like a really clean way of doing. Some people are like, yeah, this is the way you do it, but I don't know. I just it doesn't feel good, for lack of a better word. So I mostly just take the plus frames on it and go from there.
So basically, to summarize the basics here, we're going to do what we can to get 2D knockdown, put out the heavy slash disc, and then we're kind of leaning on the left right. And if they don't fall for that, we're using the plus frames to create a high-low situation and
Mm-hmm.
trying to repeat that over and over until we get the combo off of the left right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's talk about when Millia has to defend in this game. She is squishy. She dies pretty fast. I think she's second lowest health behind Chip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, defense obviously pretty important to be on point. Does she have any tools she can use to her advantage? I think the hair super isn't a perfect reversal, right? Like the straight up and down one.
It's invincible. It's
Invincible. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's got that. But what else can she do? Could she use any of the system mechanics to her favor? Does she have anything that's worth throwing out in gaps? What do you like to do when you are stuck in defense for a long time?
So I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but what I do depends on the character I'm playing against. So for example, I just did this against Nagoto Yuki because I definitely realized recently that my defense is just shit against him. I need to really understand. So like, you have to understand what type of character you're playing against, what type of strings they're going to use to you against you, what options they have off these strings, and then think about how you can hedge your bets and like what do you think the best options are depending on what they're doing in the situation. Now, the nice thing about Millia is that she has a couple things you didn't mention. So one for the most part. So let's start with the super, right? This is basically not an option. Like this is like desperation type option, and there's only like one spot outside of like I seriously believe that you're going to meaty me, so I'm going to do this. There's only one spot where I'll really use this with some modicum of frequency. So it's really you shouldn't count on this is like your last resort using the super. Similarly, I actually don't use YRC a lot as an option. I think it's a good option. It's a strong defensive option, but like in Millia's case, she's not like a it's a guard crush, right? So you know the properties of guard crush. You can't do anything but block or burst essentially, and then you don't have a throw invincibility. So her throw is not like super threatening because again, you don't really get a mix up. You just establish plus range, which is good, but because of the super long meter penalty, like you could do stuff off the pressure, but it's just like not threatening. So like I try to save the meter for like when I take my turn back, or maybe like I have a specific thing against a character where I'll BRC at them after they do something like that. Um, the best, the main things I usually end up doing is like uh as a general thing is like using FD in really specific spots to push my opponent out, and then trying to jump out because her jump is in the high class. So there's like different tiers of jumping, and her jump is like Mei and Chip. Like she just jumps super high, and when she jumps, she has like so many air mobility options. Like she has double jump, she has got two red ashes, she's got Capel. Capel has when you do Capel, you're not done either because you have like you press button, you can do nothing. You can do capital anytime, and it's disjointed. So you that's like the main kind of way I try to get out. But there's some things where it's like, oh, maybe I'm playing against a character where it might feel difficult to jump out for some reason. So I have to do some different thing, but maybe after I push them out. Uh, Again, it's like this type of thing. Like I can give a pretty simple example of like what I mean. So we use May. So a lot of people have problems defending May, right? But May actually isn't like heavy like high low mix or anything. She's like strike throw, and one thing that's tough about her is like she's got S dolphin, H dolphin, and people don't want to get hit by S dolphin, so they block. But then if May does H dolphin, now you just block the +5 move, and May gets to do stuff. she's got this close slash with +3, so it's like you mostly can't do anything about it. So I tend to just FD that so that it makes it harder for her to do. So she can't do it from here, but she could dash up, right? It's plus, but if I FD it, or she's just gonna have to run farther than normal in general, to the point where you can interrupt. Where there's like a let me see if I can get it. Did I do this fast enough? No. Man, can't she actually do this on this? There, I got it. Okay, so Millia has a 6-frame normal, right? So, if they do this right, you can't mash out of it. Like, you don't have enough throw invincibility to mash out of this. Where, like, if you FD, the speed she has to do that to grab your button, like, she's not going to reach you, and your mash is going to work. So I try to FD stuff like that. But then, like, when people talk about, like, these guessing games that May players try to do, so they'll do, like, right, so that will hit you. Then I'll do, like, a fast one. And then I'll do, like, this is the third option they like to do. I think it's, like... Okay. So it's pretty scary, right? So if you try to move... If I did this right and you try to move, it hits you, right? So you take, like, I don't know, what's that, 10, 15%? And this one is just, like, the normal fast one. But then she has, like, a bunch of options after it. And then this one is +5 if she does it. But the thing is, though, the H Dolphin is 25 frames, so she has nothing that's airtight into it, and even attack level 4 moves are 7-frame gaps. So, because of that, and Millia's high jump, what I tend to do now is that after like blocking specific normals, I just start holding up specifically, especially if I push her out first, because if she does H Dolphin, then that in that case she got pushed out. She can't even hit the 2H. I'm just not. If she does H Dolphin, I can like fall off a button. If I'm fast, I can even get a punish. If she does fast S Dolphin, it's airtight. It's -5. And if she does a delayed S Dolphin, it's actually -2. So even if I get hit, I get to move first anyway. In this case. So knowing all that, my conclusion was, okay, so after blocking like bar slash, 2S, 5H, and normal 6H, and sweep, I should just hold up until they do something about it. And the thing that they're going to do, because none of these moves are jump cancelable, so the main thing they're going to do is probably aim for vertical dolphin. And if they do that, let's do like this. So if they do that and I read it with good old Dragon Ball dash block, then I immediately reverse the situation and get a combo. So it makes it so I have a really safe defensive structure against the character where I don't directly challenge her, but I'm covering a bunch of options at the same time. So even though Millia has like quote unquote bad defense, I'm taking advantage of like her at a system level. Her jump's just higher than other characters. Knowledge about my opponent's character and what my opponent's pressure structures tend to be to create a defensive stack that keeps me relatively safe. I don't have to bet too hard. And then like if I guess like a specific thing, because vertical dolphin is a pretty hard call on jump, right? And all they get really for it is they just get me blocking for longer and build my risk, which is not bad for them, right? Like I'm still blocking, which is what they want. But if I call it right with dash block, which also is basically safe against horizontal dolphin, then I get a fat combo and I get corner. So
makes sense.
It's that type of mindset. It's that type of mindset I use. I try to like think about my opponent's offense and what I could do at a system level, especially with FD, man. Everyone seems to forget that faultless defense in the game, and like even more than just pushing people away, like if you use it to push away the right move, you can reduce your opponent's offense by quite a bit, and they have to overextend in order to keep their offense up, which opens up mashing again and stuff like that. It's pretty important.
LordKnight, if someone came to you today and said, hey man, I'm thinking about playing Millia Rage in Guilty Gear Strive, but I'm not sure about it, what are you telling them to push them over the fence? Why should someone pick up this character?
Honestly, you should only pick up the character if you really like the character, because you're gonna suffer a lot when you start playing her. Because a lot of these things I've been talking about take a lot of like individual review. You know, it really the plan is easy, but getting to the point where you can execute it well and deal with various situations is not easy. So if you're picking between her and another character and you don't like just really like her, then I say honestly pick the other character. Even though I think she's really strong, it does take effort to do. She's not an easy character by any means. But if you really just love this character and like this is the one and you're willing to just do the work at the beginning, then by all means go for it.
I think she kind of has a game plan that appeals to a lot of people too. Like, you know, bob and weave, get the knockdown, mix to death. I think that like that at its core is something that a lot of people like out of fighting game characters.
Yeah, I feel like that's what people say,
Yeah,
but
it's what they want
yeah,
to
that's
like.
what they
But really what they
say.
want is
Yeah,
soul
they
//
want easy good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want easy good. I still hear people say stuff like, "Oh, you just have to work so much harder for the same result." And like when you get good at when you like really have your plans built out and stuff, like the selections become so automatic to you because you already did the work of like, "Oh, this is happening, so these are my options, so I just pick this or move away or something." You know what I mean? Like from my perspective, like the only like truly hard part about it is just building out everything.
Yeah.
Once you have an understanding of the options, I mean, you just go from there.
Yep. Then you get
Yeah.
to be the true hair assassin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show once again. I appreciate you. That's all I got for you today.
Cool. Thank you.